This is something nobody really talks about, but a lot of the biggest designs have been stolen from African tribes. Here are some of the examples. The famous Versace Greco print was stolen from the Funban tribes in Cameroon, and even the LV monogram with the famous sign inside was stolen from the Kwele tribe. And in the LV's Man collection in 2012, you can find the Masai Shuka, which is a traditional African blanket based in colorful shades of red and blue. This one is often used in the Maasai tribes of Kenya and Tanzania. Do you know more designs that got stolen? And more importantly, should these tribes be compensated with the profits that the brands are getting? Let us know down in the comments below.
Now, as we head this way, just want to remind you how beautiful Africans we are.
Europeans have always stolen everything. They've stolen land, of course, but that was just the opening act. Europeans have stolen everything: material, labor, lifeways, language, even the ability to imagine a future outside of their theft. They stole Turtle Island with treaties they never honored, stole Africa with borders they never lived in, stole Australia by calling it empty, stole Palestine by funding a settler state, and each time they renamed the theft as discovery. They didn't just take territory, they fabricated sovereignty out of violence. They built nations on unmarked graves, then built museums to frame it as progress. Chattel slavery wasn't just forced work, it was the systemic extraction of time, body, memory, and reproductive life. The transatlantic slave trade turned people into credit, generations into capital, and when formal slavery ended, they simply renamed it: indenture, plantation debt, prison labor, minimum wage. They don't pay, they extract. Every developed European economy sits atop the plunder of others. Belgium's wealth equals Congo's mutilated children. Britain's empire equals Bengal's famines, India's looted GDP. France's monuments equal Haitian reparation payments. Spain's gold equals indigenous blood across Abya Yala. They didn't build wealth, they looted it. Then they called it industrialization. They took African deities and renamed them demons, took Arab numbers and called them Western math, took Eastern philosophy and sold it as mindfulness, took black music and charted it with white faces. They turned Yoruba into voodoo, turned indigenous prophecy into apocalypse fiction, took the drum, the braid, the spice, the chant, then banned it, then sold it back through Apple commercials and Coachella fashion lines. Europeans don't create, they curate what they've already stolen. Residential schools, forced adoptions, sterilization clinics, boarding schools, welfare raids. They stole native children, African children, Maori children, Aboriginal children, then documented it in church archives, not courts. And when colonized women resisted, they sterilized them, without consent, without anesthesia, sometimes as policy, sometimes as casual genocide. European time is not neutral, it's stolen. They imposed clocks over cycles, calendars over ceremonies, and 40-hour work weeks over subsistence and kinship. They stole the future by criminalizing rest. They stole the past by rewriting every archive. They even stole the present by flooding the world with distractions while the planet burns. Their time is linear, extractive, and detached from responsibility. It is the schedule of empire. They stole artifacts. They stole bodies. They stole the very dead. Museums across Europe house over 1.5 million stolen cultural artifacts and refuses to return them. British, German, and French museums hold African skulls like trophies, Papuan ancestral bones like anthropology props, indigenous ceremonial pieces as curiosities, while demanding proof of ownership from those they stole from, because Europeans believe possession is 9/10 of humanity. They co-opt freedom. They steal justice. They quote MLK while funding occupation. They chant rights while arming repression. They stole abolition from the enslaved, stole feminism from indigenous matriarchs, stole queer liberation from trans black organizers, then whitewashed every movement they didn't create but couldn't stop. Europeans even steal oppression vocab to dodge accountability. They clear-cut the forests, poisoned the rivers, overfished the oceans, ignited climate collapse. Now they build rockets to Mars, domes on lunar dust, terraforming projects funded by billionaires who couldn't even clean a city block. They stole the earth, and now they want to steal distance from the wreckage. This is not a series of accidents. This is the core of European identity. Theft as cosmology, extraction as culture, ownership as theology. Europeans have always stolen everything because they cannot exist without convincing the world that what is theirs was always up for grabs. They didn't just take gold. They took meaning. They took time. They took worlds. And they call that history. Cope.
Good morning, Africans. I hope you're doing fine where you are, and if you ain't doing fine, please do fine. These are some tripods. I'm going to do some videos for you guys. How beautiful black people we are. You know, we are not just beautiful, we are smart. We have intelligence. We've made the world an easier place to live. We've made the world a place that is so we've made work easier for humanities, yeah. But somehow we don't get the credit for this. Remember, it is we Africans. We are the ones that first civilization started with us in Egypt. You know, East Africa is also called the cradle of mankind for those who believe in the theory of evolution. I don't believe in it. I believe there is a super intelligent, superimposed creator that is the Most High God. Yeah, but still scientists say that Kenya and East Africa, or the East African plains, are the cradle of mankind. Maybe they are right, maybe they are wrong, but there is somebody who is always taking credit for us. Someone is taking credit for our hard work. You see, Africa was not these 54 countries that we see today. Africa was just one huge landmass. Like the goats you see, people were walking like that. We didn't have anything or anybody hindering us from interacting with one another. That is until the colonizers came into Africa. We would go walk miles with no disturbances, you know. That is the beautiful Africa we used to have. But then the colonizer came. Before the colonizer, we had the explorers. The explorers came and they say they discovered. I wonder how they discover a country with people inside. I still wonder. Later on, the missionaries came. Ludwig Kraft, John. We had so many of these. I know you know them. After the missionaries, the third category was now the colonizer. Yeah, I believe that some of these missionaries, some of them gave intelligence to their respective countries about Africa. And so they spread news about a land of black people, people so welcoming, they sound foolish. We should go and, we should go and colonize them. But that was the most evil thing. Later on, the colonizers came. We were colonized up until South Africa received its... South Africa is the last country in Africa which received its independence. And that was in 1994, when the last white president, Frederick de Klerk, I say he's the last white president who had morals, who had respect for black people. And he treated Nelson Mandela well. He handed power peacefully. But we cannot and we can never overlook what the missionaries, what the colonizers did especially. The colonizers stole what was ours. They stole our tradition. They stole our resources. They stole our manners and brought their manners to replace it. That was the colonizer. And again, I'm always looking back right now, and I'm thinking, if the colonizers never came into Africa, if these white or rather European colonizers never came to Africa, we wouldn't have this visa thing. Many problems of poverty we have today wouldn't be there. Because sometimes, think of it, the situation in the Congo, who do you think causes it? Is it that Africans, we are cursed, we can't get rich? Or is it that our poverty makes them rich? Keeping us poor makes them rich? I think so. I want us to continue listening to this specific gentleman. Listen to what he has to say. I shall get back.
Biggest lie an adult has ever told you.
They told me poor countries were poor because they had corrupt leaders, but they didn't explain how those leaders came into power. They didn't explain that the form that corruption usually took was highly beneficial to Western economic interests, trading away their country's natural wealth and resources to Western corporations for pennies on the dollar, robbing their fellow citizens in exchange for Western assistance in seizing that power in the first place. They told me money makes the world go round, but they didn't explain how that works, that the money doesn't actually have any inherent value. It derives its value from the wealth of resources that money represents. They didn't explain that when you perpetually overproduce and overconsume to stimulate the economy, you're wasting real finite wealth in order to create symbolic wealth that derives its value from the very resources you're wasting in order to create it in the first place. They told me the Western world was a bastion of freedom and democracy and prosperity, but they failed to mention that that prosperity was built through the wasteful, deliberate overconsumption of other people's wealth, obtained through centuries worth of deliberate, active, maliciously creative destabilization.
This guy always makes a lot of sense. Let me know what you think about everything he said here, because for me, everything is spot on. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next video.
So the next time someone comes to you and someone tells you that your culture, your African culture is inferior, that we didn't have education, we didn't have technology, we had this all. It was all taken to Europe. After it was taken to Europe, it was made theirs. It was no longer ours. We had to pay to go and see things that once belonged to us, things that originated from our ancestors, like the tooth of Patrice Lumumba. After him being treated inhumanly, his tooth was taken to those Belgium. It was Belgium that was colonizing Congo. It was taken to Belgium into a museum. An African tooth. It's now a property of the West. That tells you something. Why would you want to keep someone's tooth? Are you going to practice witchcraft with it? I don't think they are going to practice witchcraft with it. What they were going to do is to make it theirs. Because this man was a legend. And legends don't die. Legends live forever. Africa has so much potential. Africa has so much that it can feed the whole world. Look at Congo. It powers the whole planet with its minerals. The Triple T powers the whole electronic systems of the world. Our history is as far as the pharaohs. It is even written in the Bible about the pharaohs and Moses. When the whole world was starving, people came to Africa to eat. When the bubonic plague hit the whole world, it never hit Africa. Africa was the rescue sanctuary. So, me, I just love my country. I love Africa, and I'm loving being more African each day by day. As I grow up, I come to realize how much valuable we are as black people. I even come to appreciate my skin more and more. The darker I am, the more beautiful I appreciate. You see, the darker the juice, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Yeah? Because the original man was black. There's always something about having too much melanin. I've discussed many times in this video, melanin, black people, this and that. I hope that you got something. Yes.